Good morning, it's Marie and welcome to Real Life on the Homestead in Ontario. It is a snowy day here today. And for my American friends, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy it with your family. And this recipe, I'm getting on the books so that you can see it for Christmas. However, if you're doing a Thanksgiving dinner in the US, you may want to do these for your dinner. It's a simple recipe. It's a dump and go. Literally, it's a dump and go. So I am going to show you how simple it is to make pull apart dinner rolls. And you can make these and keep them for ahead of time, or you can make them just the morning of and have them for dinner. They're beautiful. I'm not eating a lot of breads. Sometimes I sneak it in even though I shouldn't, but these are great for a crowd. Why would you want to do those crescent rolls that come in a tube when you can make homemade food that you know what's in it? And that's the primary goal in life, is to make sure you know what's going into your system. So let's start off with our ingredients. It's 2.5 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of yeast. You can use dry active or instant yeast. It really does not matter. I've done both. 1/2 cup of melted butter, 2 teaspoons of salt, and do not forget your salt, 1/2 cup of sugar, and 1 egg. To that, we will add 7 cups of flour, and I use bread flour, but all-purpose flour works perfect. And now we're going to take them. Here is my KitchenAid mixer. You can use any type of mixer, and this is how simple it is. First, take your water. It should be warm. If you can stick your finger in it and you don't burn yourself, that means it's perfect. So 2.5 cups of warm water. And to that, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of yeast. Again, it could be dry active yeast. It could be instant yeast. It really doesn't make a difference. I give it a quick stir just to make sure none of it are stuck to the sides of my bowl. To that, I'm going to add my 1/2 cup or 1 stick of melted butter. Now I'm going to keep this because I'm going to use what's left over in here to oil my hands. No waste, remember. Then the 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan, but honestly, again, use whatever you like. 1/2 cup of sugar, and that 1/2 cup of sugar, I like to use organic cane sugar, but you can use whatever you have. I'm going to give that a quick mix again, and I'm going to crack an egg in. I always do my eggs into a separate container because if this egg was no good for any reason, I'm not going to spoil all this stuff that I have in there. But this was an egg I just grabbed from the chickens this morning, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's a beautiful egg. So that's going in. Did I not say this was dump and go? There we go. It's all in there. It's all ready to go. And to this now, I'm going to add some flour. I use bread flour, but all-purpose flour works great. When I am doing my flour, I just put 1 cup in, but I want to show you how I measure my flour. I take my measurement and I fluff it just a little bit, because you don't want the flour compacted. It will measure different. So this is a 2-cup measure, and we need 7 cups. I already had 1 cup in there, so all we needed was 3 of these. And now I just take this with my dough hook over to the machine, and I am going to mix this for 10 minutes. That's it, 10 minutes. As you can see, as it kneads, it starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl, and it only takes 10 minutes to get to this consistency. It is a sticky dough. Don't worry about it. It's all good. So there we have it. Just take my dough hook out of there. We have a nice, sticky, but very, very supple dough. What I'm going to do is, and you don't have to do this, but I think it works really well, is I take a bowl and I don't use any seed oils or Pam sprays or anything like that. What I do is I coat it in butter and I'm gonna weigh this out. I tared my scale out to 0 and I'm gonna take this dough. Oh, it's super beautiful. Oh, look at that, nice and stretchy. I'm gonna have to turn this to myself instead of to the camera so I can see what I'm doing. I wanna get everything I have in here out if possible. The reason I'm weighing this is how I decide the size of my rolls. For pull-apart dinner rolls, I'm going to take the total amount divided by 40. If I want to do sliders, I'm going to take this total amount and divide it by 35. And if I want more of a hamburger size, take the total amount, divide it by 30 for a larger bun. And that's how I figure out what type of roll I'm making. So basically hamburger buns, slider runs, pull apart, they're all good. So I have here, let's do this in grams. I have 1,840 grams. So I'll do the math, divide it by 40 for my pull apart rolls. What I'm gonna do with this right now, so 1840, I have to remember that, is now that I have it in my bowl, I'm just gonna take it, flip it over. See that? How smooth the top is? And I'm just going to let this rise for 30 minutes. And my secret to covering a bowl is a shower cap. It's never gonna stick. No need for that, toxic Pam spray. So let's let this sit for 30 minutes and we're gonna come back and finish up. Our 30 minutes are up and I'm gonna get my scale ready. I figured out, and this is how I have it written in my recipe, so it seems to be pretty standard for me. I have 45 grams that I need to make 40 rolls. Now what I do is I take some cellophane wrap and I wrap my scale. That is just for ease of cleanup after. I tear it out and just make sure that this is good. And then let's look at our dough. It is doubled in size. That's what you're looking for. This was 30 minutes. And now all I have to do is grab a piece. It, for some reason, had shut off on me. And I'm going to try and get about 45. That was 41. You do get used to the size that you need. It's just a little bit of practice. And then you take your little dough ball. And I know some people do it this way. I just find that I fold under and it's always worked for me. So this is how I keep doing it. And then I just do a little pinch at the bottom. You have nice tension on the top. And I'm gonna place these on my cookie sheet. If you need to grease your hands, I just melt some butter and then rub it on my hands. And that's what I prefer to use rather than sprays or oils. 46, close enough. And these don't have to be exact, but it does help. Now, while I do these, let me chat with you about a variation that is absolutely amazing of this. Whoa, I was heavy-handed on that one. There we go. My hands are getting a little bit sticky. If you're using extra butter, it doesn't hurt, so don't worry about that. The variation. If you want to make some of those sweet Hawaiian buns, it is so simple to use this recipe and alter it for that purpose. Okay, let's get back to the Hawaiian buns. What I do is instead of the 2.5 cups of water, I do 2 cups of pineapple juice and then add 1 extra egg. Same recipe, same timing, molding the same way. What you end up with is that sweet bun that we know as Hawaiian buns. And really, you should try that variation. It's really good. I love it with pulled pork. That sweet bun with pulled pork works so well. Now this is the spacing I'm looking for. On a large sheet pan, I'm doing 5 by 8. If I was doing the sliders, I'd be doing 5 by 7. You get the gist. Anyway, I have to move quickly because these do start to rise very quickly. And once the sheet pan is full, I'm going to time it for another 30 minutes of rise time. And then we are going to bake these. One of the things I like to share is the ability on how great these things freeze. They freeze well after baking, but they also freeze well as a raw dough. So what I like to do is after I have my sheet pan completely full, I usually do double batches, 1 to bake now, 1 for later. But after the sheet pan is full, I place the whole thing in the freezer as it is before it rises. Then when I go to use it, let me just show you a little clip of taking them out of the freezer for the purpose of baking it another day. These are some that I just pulled out of the freezer. I keep them in a Ziploc bag and I do try to remove as much air as possible. And when I need to bake these, I just pull them out, let them thaw. If it's during the day, 4 hours to thaw, another half an hour to rise, or you can take them out, put them in your fridge, let them thaw overnight, and then just pull them out of the fridge and let them rise for half an hour and go through the same baking process. The beauty is you always have dough ready to go for when you need quick buns. So as you can see, because I did not worry too much about exactly 45 grams, I am 1 short of a full pan. That's okay. I don't stress over these kind of things. But what we're going to do is we're going to let this rise for 30 minutes. And let me show you. You see how these ones here that I started with are already quite nice? These will rise up and spread out a little bit. This is one of the important things of leaving a little bit of space. If they're overcrowded, it won't bake as well in the middle. So what we're going to do, I'm going to actually just move around a little bit of the buns to make it there. That looks like it might work a little bit better. Anyway, I'm going to let these rise and then I am going to bake them in a 350-degree oven for about 25 minutes, literally until that color gets really nice, a soft golden color. You don't want to overbake these and then they will pull apart beautifully. I'm just going to cover these just so that they don't dry out. A couple of clean dish towels. I don't have to worry about them sticking. And we're just going to let these sit here in the warmth of the kitchen for 30 minutes. Here we go. It's risen for 30 minutes and look at them. They're freaking gorgeous. See how they have expanded and they are touching, and when they bake, that's the spot you'll pull them apart. If overcrowded, it would be harder to bake those center ones. So let's get these into a 350-degree oven for 25 minutes. Seriously, walk into my kitchen right now and you will lose your shit. It smells so freaking good. Look how gorgeous these are baking up. They are ready to come out of the oven, and I am going to let them cool off before I show you how they pull apart. Here we have it. They are done. Look how easily they pull apart. I shouldn't be touching them. They are way too hot. Yeah, way too hot. But see how soft and fluffy they are? These are gorgeous. I would normally brush these with butter, but because I'm packing them to go, I'm just gonna leave them as is. But you can see how gorgeous they look and smell. Oh, and if you're packing these for the freezer, just take a large Ziploc bag, and they fit about 9 in there. Try to remove as much air as possible, and these freeze spectacularly. Now all that's left to do is cool them off completely, then wrap them up, transport them right on that baking sheet. At the potluck, I'm just going to throw them in the oven for 5 minutes to warm them up, and then brush them with some melted butter for absolutely gorgeous goodness. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this with your friends. Most of all, have a great day.